Hello again, another quick update. It's just about 8 o'clock on March something. Let's look. 26th. Okay. I can't keep up with the time. It's flying by. Shop is a super mess because I have to real quick stop, go inside, get some food, and spend the rest of the night with my wonderful family, Allison and James. I've been out here for a little bit today. Today was kind of a chore day as well, a little bit of mowing, stuff around the house, clean up, all that. But I did get to come out here for a couple hours or so, a few hours, and work on things. I really thought that I would try to start this thing today. But the more I got into it, the more I discovered that I still had yet to do, and it's a no-go. Didn't get close. But I did get the engine and transmission pulled out. I got the engine kind of mostly buttoned up. I still have a few things to tighten up and gaskets to put in here and there, but a big difference from where it was. Also got my catch can mounted up. I had to cut some holes in some of the inner fender liner stuff and get that put in. I did get my adapter for my 5-bar map sensor. So the sensor that detects how much pressure the turbocharger forces, pressurized air the turbocharger forces into the engine. I have to be able to measure that so the engine runs right. So I got the harness correctly finally, or the correct harness in finally to put that in, and all plugged up. So quick overview time, I guess. Let me flip the camera around. Okay, so yes, engine and mock-up transmission. Not in the car. The transmission from Freddie Brown is on the way. It's in Indianapolis, or at least it was earlier today. So next week I should have that. And this whole thing should be ready to shoehorn back in there. And maybe next week, maybe it'll start next weekend. I don't know. We'll have to see. That would be at the earliest. Anyway, so yanked that thing out. Couple updates. So the catch can. Okay, this is a dual inlet catch can. So basically, as the engine runs, some of the exhaust sneaks by the pistons and stuff instead of coming out the exhaust here, and it builds pressure inside the engine. And if you build too much pressure in the engine, it starts to blow gaskets out. So what you do is you have these vents on the sides of the engine. I've got 3 of them, 1 there and 2 there, and I'm hoping that's enough. But anyway, those will run, I'll combine them a little bit, and they will run over here to this thing. This is an air and oil separator. So as the oily air from the inside of the engine comes in here, it gets filtered through some stuff inside here, and the oil sits at the bottom. The air comes out the top. So every once in a while I have to drain this, but this helps keep the pressure from building up too much in the engine, and it helps keep from making a mess all over the place with oily air blowing all over and droplets. So I did have to, the frame of the car sits right here. This is all just extra metal, so I just simply cut me a hole so that I could shoehorn it down in there a little bit. And let's see, the bottom of it comes out. See if I can show it. Yep, right there. So this is the drain. I don't remember which way I spin it. Not that way. Spin it, and oil drains out, and you got to catch it. So, cool little deal. A must-have for turbochargers and, well, any racing engine. There's different ways to do it, but that's the way I decided to go this time. For the engine itself, so I've got gaskets underneath the valve covers. I had to figure out new bolts. Thank you, Amazon, for all these bolt kits. It helped a ton. I've got to go get some more because I'm running low on a few, but got my bolts in, my gaskets in. I put new gaskets underneath the exhaust manifolds, and I switched out the short bolts that I had in there before for these longer ones. And they're just a 1/4 inch longer, but I really needed it for a good tight seal and strength, so those are in. The upper intake, or well, the intake as a whole, I've got my silicone gasket maker stuff in there on the front and the back, so that's sealed up, all bolted down, gaskets in place. I did go ahead and get my fuel rails put in. They're tightened down. The Bosch 210 injectors are in with the 4 adapters to make them fit the correct length that I need. I did have to, these are TrickFlow fuel rails to go with my TrickFlow intake, and I did have to, you're not going to be able to see it, and I don't remember if I took a picture, but I did have to take my grinder to this. There's a fabricated notch in here so that these injectors sit at an angle, not straight on. I did have to grind a little round spot out for these adapters that have to sit in there so that they wouldn't get too tangled up. Anyway, I've got my, somebody had put an intake air temperature sensor right here, so I just replaced it with the one I wanted. I figure that's as good as any. Might read a little bit on the hot side, but I'd rather read on the hot side and adapt for it than otherwise. The coolant temp sensor I got put in. Back there is the 5-bar map sensor. Now, I was kind of a dork. I didn't realize that I had this other outlet right here. I could have just put it on the outside, but it's kind of neat tucked away in there. Just a little bit difficult to get to, but I can get to it. Also replaced my vacuum tee that was here, the Christmas tree thing with a little plug. And these are the quick disconnect fittings so that I can run my vacuum lines everywhere. I did go ahead and put the Hyperspark on there. I'm probably going to take that back out, and I may take the upper intake off when I put the engine back in, just because it's a lot easier to work with without that stuff on there, and I don't want to break anything. But yeah, that was fine. I didn't quite get to the water pump and the thermostat housing and all that. Still have to tighten down the balancer as well. You know, I just ran out of time. I also, one of the biggest things is that I have to, I really need to take this transmission off and put the engine back on the stand here. I need to flip it upside down because I have to change this fitting out for a bigger one. This is where the oil drains back from the turbo once it goes in. Oil comes out of the engine here through some little bitty lines that I have to put in to the turbocharger, which is spinning, and then drains back out after lubricating it to that spot there, and this one's too small. I thought it was big enough. It's not. So I got to do that. So I've still got some more projects ahead of me, but it was all that kind of stuff that made me realize I am not ready to, I don't have enough time to do this. I can't get it running today. I have an AccuFab 80mm throttle body, the race throttle body, and all of the adapters for the little sensors and motors and things that will plug into that aftermarket harness. I love plug and play stuff. It's worth the few extra bucks if you got to do it, just because everything else is a lot harder. And I got to come up with a plug for back here. I don't know what I'm going to do there yet. But yeah, that was pretty much everything that I did today in here. So, fun stuff. Appreciate you watching. Thank you, Allison and James, for letting me come out here for a little while. Love you guys, and have a good day.